We'll also turn to legislation today that the men and women who currently wear our uniform have had to wait too long for. When Senator McCain says that it's the first duty of the federal government to protect the nation, he means it. He knows what it means to serve. He knows what it means to sacrifice. And in his role as chair of the Armed Services Committee, he worked hard to craft a bipartisan defense authorization bill with input from both parties. It would transform bureaucratic waste into crucial investments for our troops and their families, like the raises they've earned and the quality of life programs they deserve. It would provide hope for wounded warriors and extend a hand of compassion to heroes who struggle with mental health challenges. It would also authorize a new medical facility at Fort Knox, an important project I've championed literally for years. And at a time when our country faces the most diverse and complex array of crises since the Second World War, as Henry Kissinger observed, Senator McCain's bill would help position our military to confront the challenges of tomorrow as it offers support to the men and women serving in harm's way today. The Defense Authorization Bill is legislation we typically consider every year. It's legislation that typically passes with broad bipartisan support. We expect that to finally happen again today. We expect the president to finally sign it this time. This should have been allowed to happen a whole lot sooner. We all know the unfortunate and unnecessary roadblocks the Defense Authorization Bill has faced this year. We all know the president decided to veto the version of the bill we passed last month. The veto is particularly unfortunate and puzzling given the two chief concerns the president cited when he vetoed it. One, he said he was concerned that the bill relied upon contingency funding to meet the department's operational costs. Two, he said he was concerned that the bill again contained a clear bipartisan prohibition on moving Guantanamo Bay terrorists into our local communities. But the bill really hadn't changed much since then. And the top line has now been settled by the bipartisan budget agreement. Either way, we look forward to the Senate passing this essentially unchanged legislation and the president signing the bipartisan bill along with its restrictions against bringing terrorists into the United States. This bill will include restrictions on bringing terrorists into the United States, and he's going to sign it. That's the right thing for our men and women in uniform, and that's the right thing for our country. Before I leave the floor, I'd like to underline a point I just referenced. This morning, the Senate will pass two bills. We'll pass a veterans funding bill that supports Americans who's already served their country. We'll pass a defense authorization bill that supports Americans who are currently serving. Each of these bills contains a clear bipartisan prohibition on the president moving Guantanamo terrorists into the backyards of the American people. Both of these bills include restrictions on moving terrorists into our country. The Senate has voted many times over the years to enact these bipartisan prohibitions. We've enacted them in Congresses with split party control. We've enacted them in Congresses with massive, overwhelming Democratic majorities. And today, the Congress elected by the American people will express itself clearly one more time. Not once, but twice today. The president may not like this bipartisan action. It may conflict with a campaign slogan from 8 or 9 years ago, but here's how one senator put it. Congress' job is to pass legislation. The president can veto it, or he can sign it. That was then Senator Obama as he was criticizing the idea of doing an end run around Congress. I believe in the Constitution, he said at the time, Senator Obama. And I will obey the Constitution of the United States, said Senator Obama. Those were his words then. They should guide his actions now.